Sally, lovely to meet you. Thank you very much for your time and congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
Where did the inspiration come from for the story?
Well, it came from two places, two very different places. One, it was a long term preoccupation about the consequences of choices that we all make in life when we get to a crossroads point and we think, shall I go this way? Shall I go that way? Shall I move country or stay in this country? Shall I be with this person or that person? And so on. And the feeling that, okay, you go down one road, but does another part of you continue to go down the road not taken? So that was an underlying preoccupation and the basis of the story. And then in my own life, my younger brother became ill with for a long time not diagnosed condition that turned out to be a very rare form of young onset dementia of sorts. And I witnessed the troubles that he had, the way he was treated, and the way that people started to treat him as sort of less than fully human. And I spent a lot of time caring for him, being with him, and finding that I could communicate with him just fine, even though other people couldn't. And that maybe I began to wonder, maybe while he appears to others to be disappearing into this strange state, maybe he's going somewhere really interesting. Maybe he's going down those roads not taken. So into the parallel existences, the person he could have been. So then I turned that into a story, and eventually he passed away very sadly, and I thought, okay, I want to make this film, not as a portrait of him. Javier Bardem does not look, sound, or in any way resemble my brother. So, but I used, if you like, the research of what it was like to be close to and trying to care for somebody in this condition as the observational basis of the story between father and daughter in a 24-hour period in New York City.
But that still makes it a very, very personal story. So how much of that was a challenge for you when it came to writing it, and indeed seeing the story unfold from behind the camera as you're the director as well?
Well, I think just as every actor, even when they're in the middle of a scene and sobbing or something, a little part of them is saying, now turn to the left, make sure you hit the light, and so on. There's always a part of the brain that is detached and objective and thinking technically. And I think when you're a writer, you mine your own life and your own experience all the time. Even when it's not, or you mine your imagination. So you don't have to have lived it in order for it to be personal, but it has to be filtered through what you imagine people might feel or might go through. But inevitably, in the process of writing it, there is a kind of detachment as well. It's a storytelling detachment, which doesn't mean that I was disconnected from all the sadnesses around my brother. On the contrary, and I drew on experience with other friends, very close friend who had died of multiple sclerosis and others. So I'd seen it. I understood what it means to care and to love for somebody, to have great love for somebody as you care for them, but also need to have a life, and all those issues that so many women face. Either as mothers or as daughters or as sisters or as spouses or whatever.
And there's a cruel irony which goes with Leo's dementia, because he's a writer and he's been robbed of language, which of course has been so integral to his life. Was that why you decided to make the character a writer?
Yes, I think exactly that, and he's in a way telling the story of his own life to himself as it unfolds, his kind of Odyssey-like life. But yes, indeed, words and what happens to words as people and to language as people fall into a state where those connections become difficult to make. Having said that, what I've certainly observed with my brother and have with others is that sometimes people in that state go into, if you like, a poetic use of words. So if you abandon prose and start just entering into a space where words are put together in a different kind of way, almost like concrete poetry, communication is perfectly possible and very interesting. So It's not
I
about.
wondered how much also this was just as much the daughter's story, Molly's story, as it was her father's story, because I believe what wasn't the film originally going to be called Molly to
It
start with.
was. It was. And in fact, the whole story, in a way, comes to a head when he finally remembers her name and calls her Molly. And we've never heard, right at the end of the film, and we've never heard that name before. And for me, yes, it's a two-hander in that sense. Even though we go with Javier Bardem's character, with Leo, into these other lives, what's holding the whole story is that we know his daughter is either looking at him or looking after him or wondering where he's gone or chasing him and eventually finding him. He, so to speak, comes home. So that's the Odyssey tale of it. Somebody who has gone far away but who returns. And who does he return to? His daughter.
And the title applies just as much to her as it does to him.
Yes, indeed it does. Absolutely.
Because she has to make some very big choices along the way.
She has to make big choices, and at the very end, we see her in a parallel life. Just in the last seconds of the film, she, in a way, splits into the two ways she could go: being a carer for her father, living out her life, or maybe she can do both.